Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Pramangsa Parivrajikacharya Sutara Satasi Srimad Swami Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktinda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Pramangsa Parivrajikacharya Sutara Satasi Srimad Swami Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavrinda Ki. ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद सिद्वैत गिरिधर शिव श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Vrindavan Dhama Ki Mathura Dhama Ki Jagannathpuri Dhama Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Ganga Maya Namai Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi Shambhed Bhakta Vrinda Ki all goddess assembled devotees, all goddess assembled devotees, all goddess assembled devotees, all goddess to see Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 23rd chapter, Devahuti's Lamentation, texts number 20 and 21. I'll read 20 and then we'll chant 21 together. haṁsa-pārāvata-vrātais tatra nikūjitam kṛtrimān manyamānaiḥ svān adhiruhyādhiruhya. Translation. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these birds. 21. Vihāra-sthāna-viśrāma. Vihāra-sthāna-viśrāma. saṁveśa-prāṅgaṇājiraiḥ. vismāpanam ivātmanaḥ. Ladies. Vihāra-sthāna, pleasure grounds. Viśrāma, resting chambers. Saṁveśa, bedrooms. Prāṅgaṇa, inner yards. Ajiraiḥ, with outer yards. Yathā-upajoṣam, according to comfort. Racitair, which were designed vismāpanam, causing astonishment. Iva, indeed, ātmanaḥ, to himself, Kardama. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The castle, this is the description of the Vimana, the castle in the sky that Kardama created through his yogic powers. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Purport. Kardama Muni, being a saintly person, was living in a humble hermitage. But when he saw the palace constructed by his yogic powers, which was full of resting rooms, rooms for sex enjoyment, and inner and outer yards, he himself was astonished. That is the way of a God-gifted person. A devotee like Kardama Muni exhibited such opulence by his yogic power at the request of his wife. But when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestations could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kedamhayam Dadhati Svapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasundubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. With the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, this is a very interesting section of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Devahuti's Lamentation. Just in the last chapter, Devahuti and Kardama got together, they got married, and they had a very clear mission in life, both of them. And they aligned themselves with this mission by performing austerities for a very long time. It is described how Devahuti served Kardama with friendship and intimacy. They were united in purpose. And she took upon herself the same hardship like her illustrious husband. And thus she grew emaciated, she grew thin, and her luster seemingly disappeared because formerly she was a princess. She's the daughter of Swayambhuv Manu. Yet here she married a sage and lived in a humble hermitage in the forest. This was nothing what she was used to previously. So, after a long time of austerities, Kardama was so pleased by her service attitude, by her love and devotion that she exhibited, tirelessly arranging everything for the sacrifice that was going on. He became so pleased that he wanted to share his realizations, his spiritual opulences that he had received by the power of his austerities and blessings of the Lord. He wanted to share all of this with his wife, Devahuti. Now here, Devahuti is reminding him that before they evolve to this supremely spiritual destination, that they have made an agreement that he would give her children, and that was part of the deal. That was part of the arrangement. So in other words, you got to keep your deal. You can't go back on your commitment. Now, Kardama is certainly capable and willing to deliver his part, his side of the bargain. So, but Devahuti felt inadequate because she saw that the situation was not, was not adequate to the project that they were about to undertake. That is the sound, yes, from the door. Needs a little oil, just a little bit of oil. Whoever can facilitate that. So, she felt shy. She felt, she felt not capable of fulfilling that. So, Kardama, he created this amazing castle in the sky, this vimana, 7 stories high, with all kinds of opulent rooms and bedsteads. There's marble, there's all kinds of ivory. It is so charming that he himself was astounded. Now you may ask, how is this possible? How can he be astounded by his own creation? Well, because it's not his power. It's the power that was granted to him by the Lord. And when he actually witnessed that potency of the Lord that manifested him in front of himself, he became astounded. Even though it seems like he created it, but it wasn't his potency. Just like when we say his divine grace. Whose grace is it? Are you sure? Not Prabhupada's. Krishna is manifesting his grace, his divine grace, through his devotees. And that is truly astounding. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that if you want to use your sense for argument and logic and debate, anyone here has a sense of argument and logic and debate? Anyone has an analytical mind? No? Nobody. Nobody. I know maybe 1 or 2 who have that capacity, that propensity. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami said, then we should use those faculties and apply them to what? To judge and criticize devotees, or get on the case of management, or correct all the wrongs, or point out all the wrongs of the world. No. We should apply that sense of discernment, of analytics, to the astoundingly wonderful mercy and compassion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chatmakar, you will see that it is astoundingly, it is amazing. Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in South India, he went to a place called Kurmakshetra, and he met a person who was called Kurma Brahman. And he had a very wonderful exchange there. And after he left that place, there was another devotee named Vasudev, who's a leper. And he had heard that Lord Chaitanya, the most merciful of all forms of the Lord, Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Ghoratishe Namaha. That most merciful, most magnanimous Lord had just appeared in Kurmakshetra. So he walked there. Yet he got there just a couple of days late. And he was heartbroken hearing that he had missed the darshan of his worshipful Lord. And he sat there crying, pouring his heart out. Lord Chaitanya, he turned around and he walked back to give darshan to Vasudeva the leper. And he embraced him and he cured him of his disease. So, there are countless pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita and in Chaitanya Bhagavat attesting to the Lord's strikingly wonderful mercy that he exhibited to Jagai and Madai, to hunters, and so many other personalities that you could say were not qualified, were not really worthy of the Lord's mercy. Yet Lord Chaitanya proved that he is the most merciful, and that mercy is still extending today. Just like Mrigari the hunter, who met Narad Muni in the jungle while he was hunting wild animals and half killing them. He became transformed simply by the mercy of Narada Muni, which is an expansion of the mercy of the Lord. So, we had some discussion over the last few days, and some questions came up that why so much opulence and why so much enjoyment here in the Bhagavatam? Isn't this a little bit inadequate, disproportionate, a little extravagant? You remember? That discussion came up. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, right at the beginning, at the onset of this 23rd chapter, he's telling that this this chapter describes the request by Devahuti and how Kardama Muni, he facilitated, and how they enjoyed together that wealth that was desired by her. So, devotees are people, and people have desires. If you say you have no desire, that means you're dead. Anyone who has no desires is dead. So if you have desires, you are alive. Now the question is, how do we dovetail our desires with the desire of the Lord? And that is the example that we have here in this section of the Bhagavatam. And why so long? 100 autumns? This is Satya Yuga. Kardama performed austerities for 10,000 years. So 100 years of enjoyment is just a little honeymoon. It's not a big deal, so to speak. If anyone were to get disturbed, why? Because in coming verses, there will be elaborate descriptions of what's going on in that palace, in this vimana, and the enjoyment that they had. Kardama is a mystic, he's a yogi. He's renounced, but his wife is a princess, and he's considerate to her desires, to her needs, and he, as a dutiful and capable husband, wants to facilitate that. So this is the description that we have here. Now this castle in the sky was actually real because it was created by the potency of the Lord and through the faculty of the austerity of Kardama. Devotees don't really aspire for siddhis, for yogic siddhis. Some people want to study the Vedas to find out about vimanas. Because it sounds like pretty amazing for warfare, right? If you have such kind of airplanes. But devotees are not really interested in that, yet if they will achieve them by the grace, by the mercy of the Lord, they will use them in devotional service. Just like Hanuman. he got amazing powers. He got amazing shaktis from the Lord. And yet he used it in the Lord's service. Arjuna, in a similar way. So they were not attached or impressed because they knew that this is the Lord's mercy, this is the Lord's potency. We have the example of Kolavecha Sridhar when he was asked by Lord Chaitanya to accept wealth, to accept cities. He said, this is just a distraction. This will just distract me from my service. Why? Because his service was exchanging unalloyed love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So cities would just come in the way. They would just be distracting. Just like when Gopkumar went to Vaikuntha, he saw people who were like shapeshifters. They were changing their forms. And they had all kinds of forms there. And it was very amazing to him. But he was not attracted. He felt, this is not my place. These are not my people. I don't really fit here. This is not my environment. I'm looking for my Gopal. And he's not here. So this is the wrong place. I don't want to spend too much time here in this environment. Sometimes we hear a glorification of Srila Prabhupada, that he's a Shakti Vaishya avatar. And yes, certainly, he fulfills all the criteria. Yet, it is a question of mood. It is a question of sentiment. One could have debates about nuances of spiritual hierarchy. Well, we know that the pure, eternal, and confidential associates of Krishna, their mood with Krishna is more intimate, is more playful. It's less Aishwarya, less awe and reverence. Yes, Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master of the galaxy, and he has manifested that at different occasions. Yet, if we fall into this vein, if we go into this vein that, yes, Prabhupada, he is a Shakti Vaishya avatar, he's much more than Jesus and all these other grand, illustrious teachers. And then the next step usually is, only he could do what he did and no one else can. Have you heard this argument before? And it's partially true, because nobody could do what he did. But it's partially untrue, because it will then negate the whole idea of parampara, of succession, and that Prabhupada can empower others who would then also, through his empowerment, through Krishna's empowerment, extend Krishna's mercy. So often then, yes, only he could do what he did, no one else can. Therefore, the parampara stops with Srila Prabhupada. He is our Jesus. And then the next step is people will declare him as God. Have you ever met Christians who said Jesus is God? One or two? Yeah? And it's a hopeless debate. So, we appreciate the sentiment, yet oftentimes it leads in a different direction. So we have to be careful that we stay on Siddhanta and we don't get carried away by too much Aishwarya, which can then lead to a disproportionate over-glorification that will actually not be useful. Srila Prabhupada was often asked, especially by Indian public, Swamiji, can you do miracles? Because it's a popular thing, right? The people create some ash or some gold, some vibhuti. They do a few magic tricks. Srila Prabhupada said, yes. They said, can you show us? He said, yes. And then he went like this. He said, this is my magic. And he pointed to all the devotees. This is my magic. Because Srila Prabhupada, he touched countless souls' hearts and transformed them and empowered them to again continue and extend this mercy of Lord Chaitanya by touching countless other persons' hearts, who will then again touch other people's hearts. And in this way, a great wave of Krishna consciousness is flooding the world with this Hare Krishna movement. Srila Prabhupada ki. That is Srila Prabhupada's potency. That is Srila Prabhupada's greatness. So, if we want to experience that magic, then we should try to imbibe Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Just like His Holiness Japataka Maharaj pointed out, that this relationship here between Kardama and Devahuti, between husband and wife, ideally, it's similar in some ways to a relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple, who imbibes the mood and mission, and there is a unity of purpose. So, and by that yagya, by that sacrifice, a lot of abundance, a lot of opulence is created. Some of us remember that things started pretty simple here in Mayapur. There's a lot of rice fields and the hut, and then the Lotus building came, and the Long building came, and now it's a big city, and more to come, more to come. So, are we getting enamored by this opulence, or are we engaging it in Krishna's service, understanding that this is simply the fruit of the sacrifice of countless generations who have dedicated and served Srila Prabhupada selflessly, and we use everything in this way. So, to understand Krishna's potency is not always easy, because it will manifest in different ways. A friend of mine, he was a Sankirtan devotee in Houston, and one morning he drove to Mangalartik, and a truck hit his Sankirtan vehicle. And the collision was so, the impact was so strong that he got thrown out of his Sankirtan van, and the van landed on him. And he was being dragged on the street. So he was in really bad shape. The ambulance brought him to a hospital, and and they could not find any ID and any proof of insurance on him. So they just put him on the curb and wanted to get rid of him. Yeah, can you imagine, right? In the great country, something like that. I don't want to say what kind of a denomination the hospital was, but it was run by some religious institution. So he was barely conscious and very severely injured. But on his way out, there was one young doctor who brought him a few bags with medical supplies, and he said, on Sunday there's a free clinic behind the hospital, so you can come for that. And he gave him these 2 bags of how to dress his wounds. And then he said, I'm a devotee. I know you're a Hare Krishna. He said, I'm a devotee. I was in LA, and I wanted to join the ashram, and Srila Prabhupada, he asked me, what are you doing? And he said, I'm studying medicine. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, you have to finish. You have to get your degree. So he went and did that. And then he saved this devotee's life. And then this devotee was asked by his spiritual master to help as many devotees as he can, and he has helped tremendously in a big way. So we can see that this potency, this strikingly wonderful potency of Krishna is still doing the magic. Do you like magic? Yeah? The magic man came from Argentina. Have you seen him? He's here. I'm sure you will see the magic. But it may take a while because he just got here, jet lag and all that. But if you want to see the magic, don't wait for the magic show. Just go out and do Harinam Sankirtan. You will see the magic every day. You will see the miracle of people just transforming right in front of your eyes, completely mesmerized by the potency of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, when Sudama went to meet his friend Krishna, he was so poor, he had nothing to bring as a gift. So his wife went to a neighbor and begged for some poha, some flat rice. And this is what he brought for Krishna. And when he visited Krishna in Dwarka, Krishna received him in the palace of Rukmini, sat him on his bedstead, fanned him, she fanned him, washed his feet, fed him beautiful foods, had a wonderful exchange, reminiscing their school days together in the ashram of Sandipani Muni. And the next day, Sudama was walking back home. He had completely forgotten what the mission was, what he was supposed to ask for, because he was so happy meeting his old friend, Krishna. And he felt inadequate. He thought, I'm completely useless, so why would the Lord give me? He knows that I can't handle wealth, so that's why he's not giving it to me. But Krishna gave it silently to him, which means when he got home, home was transformed into a whole different scenery, palaces and opulence beyond. And the acharyas explain why, because Krishna felt that I have nothing to give that is matching Sudama's love, that is matching Sudama's pure, unalloyed, sincere friendship. And that's why Krishna felt a little embarrassed to hand wealth to Sudama. So he did it indirectly. And we can see this in cultured society, that people give and there is no string attached. It's not that their name has to be on it or they have to get a lot of reward or recognition, but they do it because they know it's the right thing to do and it's to please the Lord, not how much publicity or how many likes, how much return they will get from their gift. So, if we have bhakti, then karma, gyan, yoga, siddhis, this is a side product. This is like, if Krishna wants you to have it, you'll have it. If not, don't worry about it. So, we should not worry about these things and try to extraneously endeavor to achieve, okay, now what are these 8 mystic cities? How can I get them? How can I somehow figure that out? But Krishna will bestow them upon devotees according to their capacity, according to their service, according to their inclination. It is all personal. It is all personal. It's a very personal and intimate relationship. Sometimes people want to glorify somebody and they read out their bio. Have you noticed? Okay. And he's been a speaker at Starbucks and at Bank of America and at, Rockefeller Center. And some people may think like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But others who know this person personally, intimately, they cringe because they feel like, what kind of a glorification is this? Yes, Krishna is the Almighty. He is the greatest. He's the most powerful. He's all these things. But that's not the way how the intimate devotees see the Lord. They want to cherish the intimate friendship. Once I was invited for a for a gathering in New York around Rath Yatra time a few years back, and Sachinandan Maharaj was there, and some of his persons that he was talking with, I was also there. So he was welcoming me in a very friendly, in a very jovial way, because he's very exuberant personality. And so the other person was surprised, oh, you two know each other? And he could have said, oh, he's a book distributor, or he's from this country, or he has done this, or he's done that. But that's not what he said. He said, we grew up in the same sandbox together. Which is a bit of a euphemism because obviously he's much older. He's my god uncle, and on a totally different scale. But I was touched by his extending his intimate friendship to me. So, Vishrambena, what's the other word? Gauravena, yes. That is what we want to achieve. Intimate friendship through service and confidence, and that will bestow all the blessings, all the benedictions, all the empowerment on us, with which we can serve Krishna to the best of our capacity. Now, sincere dedication is not dependent on yogic powers or on any magic. The main requirement is anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama, to not have ulterior motives and to be consistent in one's service. And as far as understanding these cities and how Krishna does the magic and how he arranges everything, Lord Brahma says, Atapite deva bhajambujadvaya prasadaleshanu grihita evahi janasya tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. That people may say that I'm intelligent, but I have to conclude that without a slither of your mercy, Krishna, I cannot know anything and I cannot do anything. Now Brahma is saying that. He's the original engineer. He just built the universe and the life forms and a bunch of things. He could say, I did this, I did that, I did the other thing, I did this is me. No. What did he say? He said, I can't do a thing without a little bit of your mercy. So, that is his mood, that is his vision. So we spoke a little bit about keeping commitments, keeping our deal, and how Krishna bestows his potency on different devotees according to their service attitude and their capacity. And he's not stereotype. Yes, Krishna will accept opulent and lavish and formal worship, yet he is captivated, he's captured by the loving insults of the gopis, who sometimes chastise him, who chide him, and he takes that as more enjoyable than the prayers of the Vedas personified. we spoke a little bit about how in the name of glorification, sometimes if we overdo it and we exaggerate, we may lose some of that personal, intimate relationship and flavor, and it can even go into something else. And how the mercy of the Lord is unlimited, so that even persons who are not considered part of the Vedic system, who are outcasts, cast out into the ocean. We're not part of this line. We're just from way out there. Kirata hunandra pulinda pulkasha abira yenye chapapa yadapashreya shreya shudyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. It's always good to remember where we came from. Just like my family name, Pellizzari, is Italian. It means mrigari. It means people who work with fur, with the skin of dead animals. Because formerly people were, according to their trade, like Kolavecha, he's the banana leaf seller, right? It's a person, he's a smith, so his name is Smith, or he's shoemaker, making shoes. People were known by their trade. That was their family name, by their trade. So it's good to remember. Yet the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is strikingly wonderful, so that somehow, by the mercy of the devotees who have extended themselves, we got this opportunity to get a little bit of service. And service is key. Service is where the empowerment happens. This is where Krishna and his pure devotees pour in the empowerment. When they see that there is capacity, there is willingness to serve, there is dedication. That's where the mercy flows. So let us take shelter in this wonderful opportunity of this Hare Krishna movement, this ISKCON society that was created by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to give us the opportunity to experience Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnav Seva, and Jiva Doya. These are very essential to our tradition. Hare Krishna. We have a few minutes for reflections, comments, or questions.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You were published in many years. You were astonished by how many books you were able to distribute.
You realize that this is not my doing, that I just should get out of the way and then let Krishna do the magic. You see, there's different ways of counting. Some people count the books that they distribute. Some people count the people who got away without getting a book. It's like, like Tom and Jerry. Who wins? Who wins, Tom or Jerry? Huh? You remember? You don't watch cartoons. Did you ever watch cartoons as a kid? So who wins? Why? Tom runs for food, but Jerry runs for his life. So when people ask you, why are you doing this? Like this just, like you're a guy from Switzerland, you don't need to sell stuff, or you don't need to be out there trying to, convince people that don't want to be convinced. Why you do this? Because it's my life. No one can argue with that, right? But that means I have to imbibe this. I have to actually live this. Yes, to empty the van and to empty the storehouse and then fill it back up again. This This is the fun competition between the BBT devotees and the Sankirtan devotees. How to, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, how to, and it's ever increasing. It's ever increasing. Who will win? Krishna will win. Sometimes it looks like he goes this way, then he goes that way. And this is very loving exchange. It's a very loving competition where there's only winners. So that's the kind of competition that we should be having amongst ourselves. How we can inspire, how we can serve, how we can facilitate each other's service. Not feeling threatened, not feeling sidelined or, undervalued. And that is an art that we're here to learn. That is an art that we're here to learn. Thank you. Yes, devotional art. And we will see that the more we can appreciate other devotees' service, the more our capacity and the more our taste will increase. Other points?
Hare Krishna. Audible? Hare Krishna.
Yes, working.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Only noise, no voice. Any other comments or questions?
Okay. I'm going to try with this. Recently, I was invited to a Grihastha's house that they had built here in the Mayapur area. It was, I think, Christmas Eve, and they were having devotees over for kirtan, for hours and hours of kirtan. I thought it was wonderful. But as I got toured through this house, I was thinking, this is like an 8-10 room house. Husband, wife, one child. So I wasn't quite able to adjust. Okay, then, a week later, New Year's time, they invited me to come and they wanted to record me and have me tell stories about Prabhupada, which of course I agreed to. And so when I got there were only about 6 or 8 devotee people or visitors. And I said, maybe I should do this on another day. And they said, no, we're filming it and we will share it. And they said, we want to film you. And I said, no, there's no one to ask questions. That's the whole point of telling Prabhupada Katha or Krishna Katha. You give the devotees a chance to hear and then ask questions. So they said, okay, wait. They sent out some kind of a message that the class was going to start in 45 minutes. 300 people joined the Zoom call. I said, how is that possible? They said, well, every Sunday we have between 700 and 1,000 people. So the reason I'm telling this story is this very nice house has enthused this husband and wife to create a sangha of 1,000 people ages 20 to 30 that join every Sunday and share. I have no idea how they built this up. But now I understand this house, this ashram, they're getting enthused by it to give Krishna to everyone.
Haribol. Thank you.
So I think when you see devotees having some opulence, if they use it in the right way, then you can appreciate. And if they just keep it for themselves, it becomes a big zero.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I have a godbrother who is very wealthy, and he told me once that I tried to fly business class, but it was too austere. I had to go back in flying first class. Because he grew up in this environment, yet he's using all his resources for devotional service. So there's no contradiction there. Everybody is doing according to their capacity and according to their taste. And that's appreciated, that's accepted by Krishna. So to impose our own standards or our own yardstick, so to speak, on others, like here on Kardama and Devahudi, and say, oh, why are they doing this? Is this allowed? Is this bona fide? Is this according to principles? Is not the right way of viewing this scenario here. Kardama, he's a Prajapati. He's fathering these 9 daughters who will be married to 9 sages, and through them, the dynasties are being disseminated. And his son is Kapila Muni. So, not just way above our pay grade, but also above our understanding of the capacity of these illustrious personalities. An important point that is coming up here also, just for the close, is that even if you engage in dharmic sense gratification, there will be a sense of lamentation, and devotees will then use that lamentation to get very serious, very focused in their devotional service, understanding the temporality of this world and the things in it, the experiences in it, and to rededicate fully to the devotional service to Krishna. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinabhya.